And welcome to Unidentified with Lyndall K.
Hey, you got it right this time.
I did.
And you did not call me this morning.
I did not.
Okay.
It's a shame that a grown man has to get a wake-up call, isn't it?
Who says I'm a grown man?
Good Lord.
All right. So, we're going to talk about the Raynour community today. If you haven't heard of it, I don't blame you. But there is on Highway 39 between Spring Hope and Lewisburg. Show that picture one more time, Brittany.
Is.
I was yapping and not looking at it. So
Raynour.
Right. So Highway 39 between Spring Hope and Lewisburg, there's Raynour community. It's just one of those little signs on the side of the road.
Right.
Right. Probably 10 people live there.
It's probably a community.
Right. It is. Okay. So I passed by that 100, 200, 300 times since I've lived here.
Right. Because you live in Spring Hope.
I live in Spring Hope. I drive to Lewisburg a lot. So, you know, past that sign all the time. Never thought when I started going through all these cases that it would be something so close as that.
Right.
All right, so I mean, here's the map that, you know, we always show the map. Spring Hope's down here, then you go through Bunn, and then you get up, Lewisburg's at the very top of the screen. Mm-hmm. So it's just in the middle of nowhere, right? And it is in the middle of nowhere. I went out there with two of my sons a couple weeks ago, and it is so quiet. Now, it's off you got the highway, then you take Ben Wilder Road, and then you take Mutt Winstead Road. And it's miles and miles and miles of tree farms. Mm-hmm. And it does not look like North Carolina at all.
Right.
I mean, it's hilly over there. It's got a lot of hills. I mean, it looks like Pennsylvania or something. But it was so quiet.
Right.
You know, I mean, it's hard for us to imagine that today because we, you know, I live in Spring Hope. It's a really small town, but there's trucks.
Oh, yeah.
You know, there's everything. This place was so quiet. It was like in your ears, you could feel it. Right. You know, not even any birds or nothing. Just dead quiet. So it is out in the middle of nowhere, right? So what happened is, all right. So take a look at the site right here, right? This is the entrance to a tree farm in that area, right off of Mutt Winstead Road. So what you saw right there is all there is for miles and miles, just rows and rows and rows of trees, right? So in 2005, a migrant worker working that tree farm went into the woods to relieve himself, right? And he tripped over a skeleton that had been there for a while. So here's the newspaper article that we did about it this week. Few clues found in skeleton case, right? Another picture of a same angle, of a different angle of the same picture we just showed you of the tree farm. Right. Now the article details all the stuff that was found in the skeleton's pocket. He had a Budweiser bottle cap. He had a menu from a nearby Mexican restaurant, right? He had a couple different things in there. Something I want to say about the newspaper articles, because you know they do accompany what we're trying to do. We do the newspaper article, we do this. The editors at the Wilson Times and all the Restoration News Media editors, right, have all agreed that these stories should not be behind a paywall, right? Because they want people to see this. Yes. So they have taken I think, an extraordinary step.
And we appreciate that.
Because newspapers need all the money they can get.
They do, and for them to do that is
so you can go. You can go online. You can look this up. You can go to Spring Hope, or Wilson Times, or Butner Creed News, Creedmoor News. I don't know what, Wake Weekly, Johnstonian, all those newspapers. Just you can go online. You can look at this article. They're not going to try to charge any money or anything like that. Right. So if this interests you, or you live in that area, or you think you might know anything about it, you go on there. Not only is this article will be on the website, but all the other ones that we've done. This is our 5th or 6th one, right? We're trucking right along. We got 100 to go. Right. Folks can go on there and get a lot more information without having to pay for it, because ultimately we want as many eyes and ears. And we want this shared as many times as possible. Okay, so I want to talk, since there's very little information in this case, right? I mean, there was a skeleton found in the woods. There's no way to identify him now. I mean, they don't know nothing about him. They believe that he was Native American from Central America, right? Which is interesting. So it's not, you know, a lot of times when you think Central America, you think Hispanic, because the Spanish and all them came over to the New World, right? But this guy was, they used forensic evidence, not DNA, but looking at his skull and everything else to believe that he is a Native American. So basically like the Incas and the Mayans and all those tribes that were originally there before the Spanish showed up and took over everything. So yeah, so I don't know if that's going to help with identification or not. I mean, you know, we were just talking about before the break how hard a lot of these migrant cases are going to be to solve, but that doesn't mean that we shouldn't.
And there's quite a few migrant cases, is that not correct?
Yes, and I did a story a couple of years, last year, year before, for the Wilson Times about how many migrant worker bodies were found in Johnston County. And you know, Johnston County now is huge. It's got Smithfield, and I mean, it's growing, but getting very developed and all. But in the 70s, it was all farmland.
They're fixing to get Amazon.
Right, exactly. It was all farmland in the 70s, and a lot of dead migrant workers. So when you're doing these cases, you have to find what information's out there. Right. So the number one thing that has to be done is you have to go to the public library and you have to look at microfilm, because newspapers, now there's sites out there like newspaper.com and stuff like that, but all newspapers.com is an electronic filing of microfilm. They go around to different places and they put, you know, so I mean that's great, but not all of it is on newspaper.com, right? So you have to go to the source and you have to find that original material. And the reason why is because even though it was in the newspaper 15 years ago, right? A lot's lost between then and now, you know? So the one thing that I like about microfilm is that now let's say the story's online. Right now, every newspaper I've ever worked at has always lost a lot of material because they switch servers. Right. And then a lot of the material, you know, you have that idea that once it's online, it's on there forever. But I mean, I've got entire years of my career that disappeared because they switched servers. But let's say you go online and you type and you find a story about something. Right. Well, all you have is that story. You don't have the what else was going on at that time. So when you go and look at microfilm and you're looking at an entire newspaper, not only do you have the story here, you might see that something related or unrelated but interesting is also on the page. It can put in context what you're looking at. So we went to the Franklin County Library in Lewisburg. I had to wait because there's my son Troy looking at microfilm of the Franklin Times from 2005, right? We had to wait until last week. I had to put this case off because because of COVID, they didn't open until last week. Oh, wow. Right. So, I mean, that was one thing that COVID really slowed down a lot of my research because you couldn't get in the library to do, you know. All right, so we knew that it was 2005, so we had to, we basically looked through several months worth of stuff. Right. And we finally got results. I mean, there's this guy, they found this skeleton 2005. This is the only news article about this man that exists in the entire world. It was about 6 inches long, 7 inches long. I mean, the reporter there, Carrie Johnson, I mean, there was a lot of details in it, so she did a good job. Or he or she, I don't know, I assume she. But the problem is that newspaper article is lost to time. So folks, the whole reason I'm talking about this is if you're interested in anything that we've talked about, right? And anybody can do what I'm doing. It's not what I'm doing is just 20 years of knowing how to do it. But I mean, I had to learn along the way. If you're interested in what we're doing, you can go down to the local library and you can do it yourself. And one thing that the Rocky Mount Library has put all of its microfilm on the computer. So you can go to, it's inside, it's contained within the library, so you can't do it, you know, you can't look at it online. But you can go down to the library, and rather than looking through page after page after page of microfilm like you have to some places,
right,
you can type in a keyword, and it'll give you all of the pages that keyword appears on.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, the Telegram, which has been in publication for decades, I don't know,
right,
like 100 years, I don't know how long it's been, you can go search the Telegram. So if you have a loved one that you're concerned about, you know, I mean, not even, it doesn't even have to be anything nefarious. Let's say that you wanted to, you know, you wanted to know more about your grandpa or whatever. You can go down to the library, you can log on to the computer. They got great folks. My wife's a librarian, so I mean, I always brag about the librarians. They got great folks at Braswell that can help you sit down and put you and show you how to do it. In the archive, upstairs in the library, they got a fantastic archive room with all this stuff in it. You go in there and sit down, and you type in your grandpa's name, and you know, if he's in the newspaper, you're going to find it.
Right.
So, you know, I mean, research, anybody can do research. Yeah. So, and they ought to. You never know what you're going to find out.
Exactly.
You know. All right. So I've used microfilm in Rocky Mount, Tarboro, Wilson, Lewisburg, Raleigh, just about everywhere in North Carolina. Jacksonville, Wilmington. Newspapers don't keep their own archives, right? A lot of people don't. A lot of people think. Now, when I worked in Jacksonville, they had their own microfiche machine, but that's rare.
Right.
Most newspapers don't keep their own archives, so they couldn't even tell you what their own, you know, they don't know. But every library in North Carolina has a microfiche machine, microfilm machine that has that area's newspapers.
Right.
Now, I was just in Chatham County yesterday at the Pittsboro Library, and I was looking for 1986 of the Chatham Record, but they didn't have 1986 for some reason. It was destroyed or whatever. Right. But it had every other year. So I mean, you know, there's always going to be interesting journeys in research.
Oh yeah.
But folks ought to give it a try. The machines are easy to use. They're available to everybody.
Anything you want to know, just
as
Lyndall said, anybody you want to know about, type in the keyword and.
That's right, and I love the serendipity of searching entire newspapers, right, because you might get, you know, you might find out, you know, you find a story about your granddad, but it might also be the day that the moon landing happened.
Yeah,
so you can find out, you know, something that he graduated high school the day the moon landed. Who knows? Yeah. I mean, you don't know till you look, right? Yeah. So that's my public service announcement for today. Okay. Folks, use the library. I mean, it's free, it's there, it's great. Go down there and look up some stuff. Next week, we're going to talk about a guy that was found in a mine pit in Chatham County, and we will try to give you enough information that, you know, the goal is to categorize and catalog all these cases so that someday somebody can come across it and help figure out who these people are. Appreciate you being here.
Absolutely. Make it a great day, everybody.